Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Political commentator says Finance Minister should apologize for Massa comment. NCTVET and VTDI workers continue strike action over monies owed to them by Heart NSTA Trust. And later in sports, 2 All-Premier League clashes in the National Knockout Football Competition slated for later today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Highly offensive. Political commentators are weighing in on Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke's Massa comment, which caused chaos in Parliament on Tuesday. As we hear in this report, there are more calls for the minister to apologize. There has been outrage across sections of the society following comments by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke, referring to opposition leader Mark Golding as, quote, Massa Mark, end quote. The comment led to a heated exchange between opposition member Dr. Angela Brown-Burke and the minister, who he called on to withdraw his remark. But that did not happen. Speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106 FM, political commentator Damien Gordon explained that the remark by Dr. Clarke dates back to the years of slavery.
Considering the fact that it was directed against a white politician in Jamaica, clearly in both intent and outcome, it was highly, highly offensive. Yes, and that kind of discourse has no place, especially in our parliament. I think politicians should use their influence on public platforms such as the parliament, which is a formal secret institution, to promote values that bring people together, not to incite, political, social, or racial tension of any side.
He further noted that the comment was uncalled for, especially because of what was being discussed at the time. Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief of the Western Mirror newspaper and political commentator Lloyd B. Smith described Dr. Clarke's comment as unfortunate, suggesting that he should apologize to the House of Representatives.
Dr. Clarke had brought to the Parliament over these years as Minister of Finance a certain level of probity, decency, etc. And what he did yesterday shattered that image, because what it has done is to suggest that the partisan virus has infected him, and he has to rewind and come again. In fact, at the next sitting of the House, he ought to apologize to the House.
He also believes that the Speaker of the House, Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, could have dealt with the matter better.
Somehow, he allowed her side to get the better of her, because she had begun to say, that 2 wrongs don't make a right. She actually began to say that, which would have suggested that she was admitting that what Dr. Clarke said was wrong, and what Angela Brown-Burke did was wrong, which in essence is what took place. But unfortunately, she did not continue to create that balance in terms of how she dealt with the issue. Because what happened really, the House, just dissolved into a sort of fish market.
Classes have been disrupted for a second consecutive day at the Vocational Training Development Institute, VTDI, as employees continue their industrial action. As Sandy Williams reports, long-standing problems remain unresolved as the March 31 deadline for planned changes at the institution to take effect draws near.
Effective April 1, the National Council on Technical and Vocational Education and Training, NCTVETs, and the Vocational Training Development Institute, VTDI's payroll will be officially transferred from the Heart NSTA Trust to the Ministry of Education. The workers will receive their last paycheck under the entity come next week. Uncertainty looms about what will happen after, as long-standing issues with Heart NSTA Trust and the institutions remain unresolved. The workers are restive, and not for the first time they've taken industrial action.
We just want the outstanding matters where Heart Trust is concerned to be dealt with. That's what we're protesting about. The same issues that we demonstrated about from last year have still not been fixed. Right now we have a lot of workers, their mental health is so wrecked because some persons are working for 31 years And now we're hearing that we're just going to be pushed over to the ministry and we're going to be starting over afresh. And Hart has not spoken to us about the reclassification, the contract worker situation.
JTA delegate at VTDI, Caroline O'Connor, explains that some classes have been impacted. Lecturers staged a sit-in to protest against salaries and other contract issues.
Our full-time lecturers who have classes did not go to class, have not been going to class today. We decided that, we need to get some answers from Hart Trust, because if they're going to stop paying our salaries come March 31st, they haven't come to the workers to say, hey, this is going to happen, this is what we'll do for you. All we heard, this thing is going ahead with or without us. It's happening, And so we have decided probably for the next 2 or 3 days, we'll continue our action.
Kurt Fletcher is the island supervisor for the National Workers Union, which represents the employees at NCT VET and VTDI. He says Hart NSTA Trust has committed to meeting with the entities later this week.
We are expecting that all of these issues will be completed in a timely manner. I don't know how trustworthy the management can be, because we have been at this from last year, May, in trying to resolve all these issues. But nonetheless, we are going to go and meet with them, if even to place on a record in front of them that the way that they go about treating workers in a unionized environment defies anything that we have as our law and within our structure.
The state-run entities have been in limbo since 2018. Last year, the workers staged multiple protests calling for the issues to be resolved. When contacted, Director of Marketing and Communications at Hart NSTA Trust, Julius Smiley Green, said the entities are now the Education Ministry's responsibility and all queries should be directed to the MOE. However, when we contacted the Education Ministry's Permanent Secretary, Maureen Dewire, she stated that the ministry is unable to speak for the Hart NSTA Trust about outstanding payments to the workers, which leaves the employees in limbo days before the new policies take effect. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
There are renewed calls this afternoon from the St. Ann Police for persons using the Runaway Bay main road in St. Ann to exercise caution. This after another road crash at a section of the roadway. Carrie-Ann Simpson reports.
Another motor vehicle crash along the now notorious section of the Runaway Bay main road in St. Ann, close to the Grand Bahia Principe Hotel. A Juta tour bus driver is now in hospital with injuries he sustained. The crash happened sometime after 7 Wednesday morning.
What we know is that the vehicle was traveling in an easterly direction, heading towards Ocheres. It is one of those 15-seater Toyota IS Juta bus. The driver was the sole occupant of the vehicle. It seems that he lost control of the vehicle and swerved to further left, collided in a utility pole.
The accident happened just meters away from the Grand Bahia Principe Hotel, where an employee died after being hit by a motorcycle. Head of the St. Ann Police Senior Superintendent Dwight Powell recently revealed that a possible problem along that section of the corridor is that the roadway may need resurfacing.
We're having some challenges with the roadway, and so what we can confirm this morning that it is apparent that speeding, as also the road surface, may have contributed to that crash.
In the meantime, SSP Powell is renewing calls to exercise caution along the roadway.
The roadway will always be there, and even if the roadway is having challenges, it is our responsibility to negotiate the roadway with due care and caution.
The condition of the driver is said to be serious but not life-threatening. Carrie-Ann Simpson for TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Despite the ongoing drought across the island, local farmers and suppliers have been given the opportunity to earn through the Ministry of Tourism Speed Networking Initiative. More in this report.
$650 million. That's how much small and medium-sized businesses have earned from speed networking through the Tourism Linkages Network. Last Thursday, the Montego Bay Convention Center was full to capacity with players of the industry as part of efforts to boost the sector. The participating businesses were given the opportunity to form partnerships with various tourism stakeholders in a series of 15-minute sessions.
This is about relationships, because you may have the greatest product, but you need those relationships to differentiate yourself and get you a chance to be in the door, in the office. So
this is the period in our history when we are utilizing, buying, and engaging more Jamaican goods, services, supplies, and people than ever in the history of tourism in Jamaica.
Minister of Tourism Ed Bartlett said since 2016, small business owners have earned approximately $653 million from participating in the Ministry of Tourism's speed networking events. Since the start of the year, some 200 farmers have benefited significantly.
200 small farmers, little farmers that have 1 acre, half acre, up to 5 acres in cultivation of various types of food, including strawberry. And in 2 months, January and February, 200 million Jamaican dollars of sales between the hotels and the small liquor farmers took place.
And JMEA President John Mahfood says despite the significant impact on the industry due to COVID, the country is still able to move forward economically.
every manufacturer needs to be aware that although you have suffered for the past 3 years and tried to just survive, you need to lift your approach. You need to find new products. You need to beat the bushes to get your product sold.
The Speed Networking Forum has become one of the highly anticipated calendar events created by the Tourism Linkages Network in a continued bid to strengthen linkages and increase business between the tourism industry and local suppliers of goods and services from other sectors. Carrie Ann Simpson for TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Jamaica Producers Group has acquired a 100% stake in European-based The Juicy Group NV and HPP Belgium NV. The deal was concluded on Tuesday. JP already has a strong market presence in the fresh juices market in Europe as the owner of A.L. Hoestager Fresh Specialist in the Netherlands and as the major shareholder of CO Beverage Lab in Spain. Now, with this acquisition, JP has strengthened its position in the European market for freshly squeezed juices and smoothies. The assets in this deal will be transferred to the Pan Jamaica Group as part of the amalgamation agreement between Pan Jam Investment Limited and JP. The amalgamation is on schedule for completion in the second quarter of 2023. Further afield, the UK Central Bank, the Bank of England, will decide whether to increase, lower or hold rates as it continues its battle to curb inflation. It has put up interest rates 10 times since December 2021 as it seeks to make borrowing money more expensive and encourage people to spend less with the aim of stopping prices rising so quickly. It said the continued rise in food costs had been a big factor in February's inflation figure of 18.2%. And that's it for the Business Minute. And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In this evening's health report, we look at allergy testing.
It's quite useful, especially for persons who are, their life is they can't seem to get under control. You're putting them on the medication or you're bumping up the medication to keep them under control and they're just not under control. It's best to just find out what agent they're allergic to and then try to have them avoid that agent, and life will become much more improved for them.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's health living tip. Keep your windows closed and use your air conditioning instead. Change clothes and remove your shoes when you come indoors. Wash your pets with a damp rag when they come indoors, and wear a mask when you're doing yard work.
Now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, the Bahamas government has expressed support for Mexico's appeal in a civil lawsuit against U.S. gun manufacturers. Mexico had filed an appeal in a U.S. $10 billion lawsuit seeking to hold U.S. gun manufacturers liable for the harm caused by their products. The Bahamas has been joined by Antigua and Barbuda, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the Latin American and Caribbean Network for Human Security, a network of non-government organizations and affiliated professionals specializing in international humanitarian law and seeking disarmament in the Latin American and Caribbean region. On the international scene, Ugandan lawmakers on Tuesday approved some of the world's harshest anti-gay laws, making some crimes punishable by death and imposing up to 20 years in prison for people identifying as LGBTQ+. The new legislation constitutes a further crackdown on LGBT+ people in a country where same-sex relations are already illegal, punishable by life imprisonment. It targets an array of activities and includes a ban on promoting and abetting homosexuality, as well as conspiracy to engage in homosexuality. According to the bill, the death penalty can be invoked for cases involving aggravated homosexuality. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Fort will have your midday sports report.